Hello everybody, today is the day that I'm releasing my new Vital pack. I've been working on this pack for a long time and today I just want to show you kind of through the pack and some of the different presets that are in there, as well as just showing you how you would start a production using these presets. There's going to be a free demo down below with roughly 10 presets that you can also use to follow along, but we're just going to start in this project over here, and as you can see the only thing that I've done is imported a kick drum. I just quickly made this in Audio Jack kick drum. It sounds something like this. And the very first thing that we're going to need to do is pair this with a bass line. So I've just loaded Vital over here and I'm just going to go into the pack. For you guys, it will show up as a folder in here if you import it correctly, but for me, as you can see, it's just a list of presets. That's because for me, obviously, I save it in my user presets, being the one that made it. And the preset that I want to go for is this auto bass over here. Now, this is very similar to my sub shifter auto sub control bass line, which you'll find in my Serum preset pack, Psytrance Essentials Volume 3. But the whole idea of this bass line is that it's clean. There is no need for processing because the processing is already captured in the wavetable that we see over here. And therefore, you don't actually have to resample this and commit this to audio. You can just keep it as a MIDI, meaning that your life is a whole bunch easier if you're actually writing the track. So let's duplicate this kick over. Maybe let's go with a 4-bar loop for now. And we'll just lay down a little clip over here so that we can make the bass line. I'm just going to write in G sharp for now. I'm going to make the 3 notes that we're all used to. Going to set up the velocity somewhat like this so that we have velocity control over here. Velocity is already set up in the preset, so you don't have to do that yourself. And then we're just taking these notes and put them in the right octave. 1, 2, 3 down like this. The reason for that is personally, I like to have my presets set up in such a way that there's no actual tuning over here. A lot of other people will tune this down maybe 1 or 2 octaves, but I personally don't like to do that because I like to tune with the MIDI. So whatever note that you see over here is actually the note that you're going to be playing. So whatever octave that you see over here, whatever octave the note is sent to, in this case G sharp 0, is actually what you're going to get. So we'll just duplicate this over like this, and now we get the kick and bass that sounds like this. Of course, we can edit this bassline more. The main thing that I'd like to play with is the phasing, because that is the amount of processing that your bassline is going to have. And as you can hear, you get different textures for different parts of the phasing parameter over here. We can also increase the click over here. Maybe saturate it a little bit. And if you want a little bit more of an open sound, there's also a Modwheel control here, which as you can see is set to the filter. So you have control over that, but you could also automate this to create some cool bassline effects. But now we have our kick and bass ready. And really, this is the main power of a preset pack like this, where you can just lay down a bassline in a few seconds. Really, for this auto bass, the most powerful part is that the processing is actually captured in this wavetable over here. Now, if you really want, you can combine this preset pack with my bass tables pack. And what you can do is just import one of the bass tables. What you need to do is use the no subcategory over here, and then you can just choose which one of these processors you like. Of course, there's many different processors. There's in fact 3000 wavetables in that pack, but I covered that in a different video, so I won't go too much in depth on that pack. The last thing that I'll quickly say is if you want to check it out, make sure that you do so before the 5th of May, because that's when my sale is ending. You get 30% off if you use code SPRINGSALE24 on checkout. So if you're interested in any of the products that I've mentioned so far, make sure to go check that out. As you can see, I've just chosen this no sub bump -100 500 Hz 8 over here. That is a mouthful, but that's just all of the processors that I used for it and all of that kind of stuff. As you can hear, we get a different tonality now. Okay, now let's move on to some synths. What I want to do is maybe start with an ARP. ARPs usually are like the main melodical idea, so it's nice to have a main theme in there first, a main idea in there first. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go in here, look for an ARP that I like. Maybe let's go with the first one and just browse a little bit. One of the things that you need to know about my presets is that the ambience is set over here. So what happens is all of my presets come with delay and reverb, but it's by default turned off, and you need to turn up the ambience macro to actually listen to it with the delay and reverb in there. And again, you have other macros that can change the sound as well. So maybe something like this. Let's just make a MIDI clip and then hold down a note. What I'll quickly do is just mix this in. So I'm going to set this to -8 over here. -9. And for this, we'll go down also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, leaving us at -11 here. So now we have our main musical idea. We want to obviously add a little bit of extra energy to it because the ARP is like very fast and it sounds a little bit energetic. We would like a little bit of extra energy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a drum loop. And actually the Vital Pack does come with a drum loop. It may not be right for you because obviously making drums inside of a synthesizer is not the ideal situation. But still, if you just want to test it out, as you can see, we have clap generator, snare generator, and top loop generator over here. These are 3 different templates that allow you to make 3 of the different drum elements. And of course, they're again going to come with a whole bunch of different macros so that you can actually get the tone that you're after. You may want to layer this with another open hat because the open hat in here is like very textured and not really the traditional open hat that you'll hear in Psytrance. So I'm just quickly going to grab myself an open hat from here. Maybe a nice 909 kind of hat here. Just going to duplicate that over and obviously we'll mix it in. We'll also make a snare here. Again, can just lay down a MIDI clip somewhere and then we'll set up a note here. And honestly, the default snare that we get out of this is going to sound fine for what we're doing here. Maybe you want a little bit of extra stereo with. Maybe there is a stereo in here. There is a little bit of reverb, so that would be nice. And as you can hear, we've increased the energy level of our little loop here. So what we can do now is we can add some supportive synths. So let's open up another Vital over here. And we're just going to loop through some of the sequences maybe to see if we can find something interesting. Scroll down to the sequences over here. And I'm just going to see if I can find something that I like. Maybe something like that is cool. Let's add the ambience here. A little bit of gate here. Okay, we'll add that to the track. Like so. I'm just going to mix that in as well. Of course, we want this to be a supportive sequence, so as you can hear, I'm mixing it in really in the background. You don't want to overpower the main idea of your track. But now what we can do is we can just lay this out longer and longer so that we can continue rising here. So I'm just going to go with 16 bars of this drop. And what I'll do is I'll add a little fill over here, remove 3 kicks, and I remove everything in this bar over here in terms of the rest of the drums and the bass line. And now maybe we can start adding some one-shots. Again, we just go into the browser here. I scroll down to where the one-shots are over here. And we see if we can find something that is interesting. That sounds really cool. With some of these presets, you do have to high pass it. For a lot of the presets, I did already make them mix ready in the sense that they're removing some of the lower frequencies that you don't really want from some of the sounds. But some of them don't have that. So you would need to go in here and actually, remove them yourself. But as you can hear, up until this point, all of the presets have been very mix ready and it's easy to just mix them in. You don't have to add many different effects to mix them into the track. And what we can do now is we can just place this over here and we'll just lay down one note. Maybe something like that is interesting. And we can just move on to the next one. We're going to go for this Infinity Squelch over here. This should also be an interesting one. As you can hear, this is generating a whole bunch of different squelch sounds. Now, some of these might not be exactly what you want in terms of the squelch. So what I recommend for some of these to do is just to render out a whole bunch of different variations. So I'm just going to create a MIDI note here, make sure that it's in the right octave. Like that. And then let's duplicate this over a bunch of times. And then we'll just take an audio track and hope that we get a nice view out of that. Let's just record this. I like one of those that we got here. This is really cool sounding. We can use that. I'm just going to record a bunch more. This one over here. I like this sound as well. And then we'll find the final one. Let's go with this one. And then we can just arrange these in a nice, interesting way. So let's take this and maybe make it over here. So as you can see the 3, and I will just duplicate that over here, here, and this one is already in the right spot by pure coincidence. We'll just add our delay and reverb. Of course, if you're recording stuff into audio, you cannot have the delay and reverb of the actual preset itself. I mean, you can, but then you have to space it out much more to actually capture the whole delay tail and the reverb tail. So in this case, it's just easier to do it like this. Add your reverb and delay afterwards. So the reverb over here, we'll go with maybe a large reverb. This air chamber usually is nice. I like to just grab one of the random textures over here. Again, we'll have to remove some of those frequencies that we don't really want. In this case, with the way that we've arranged it, these two textures sound very, very similar. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move these around so we kind of have a question and answer thing, where this is the question and then this is the answer, which is like very similar to this one over here. Now we're also going to need some effects for this part of the track. So let's just add that. Let's go with some noise stuff over here. I have the flange noise, which is really nice. It doesn't actually play because this by default is a riser. So it starts with no volume. But as you can hear, we get this nice rising flanger noise effect. Let's make the stereo. And then what I would like to do is set up the switch. This way it goes from high to low instead of from low to high. And we can use that to our advantage as well. So what we will do is we'll just make one long MIDI clip over here. And then in here, what we can do is right here, just switch it around. And as you can hear, we just have a nice effect that we can now mix in. Let's make this a little bit lower. Maybe go like -7 for it or something like that. And what I'll do now is I'll work on the next section. I'm just going to duplicate this over. I'll duplicate over some of the Oneshots, maybe this first one over here. I'll duplicate over the support synth over here. And then we'll just need to put in a main synth over here. Let's also duplicate over the effects while we're there. And now let's just add another vital over here. Vital, and then we'll find ourselves a lead that we can use, maybe like a nice gritty FM thing over here. Maybe this filtered FM is nice. Maybe this one here. Or or the grittiest of the grit. I do want to go for a very gritty kind of synth because it's a nice contrast with the soft ARP that we had before. Let's just maybe make a pattern for this. Something like that could be nice, and we can just have this repeat for all of the 16 bars over here. And as you can hear, it's just really easy to get the ideas out there. All of it is very versatile. All of the presets have 4 macros and the Modwheel as well. When it comes to the Modwheel, one of the interesting things that I want to highlight is that often there's like a main modulation in the sound. So for example, over here, the main modulation is happening on this filter cutoff over here, which is just this 4-bar loop going up and then down again. What you can also do is use the Modwheel to actually overtake that modulation. So what is happening is that if the Modwheel is all the way at 0, the modulation over here is going to be used. So this is going to be applied to that filter over here. And otherwise, if you move it up, it's actually the Modwheel that is taking over that modulation, and this modulation over here is ignored. So if there's a preset in there that you really like the tone of, but you're not entirely happy with the kind of movement that the sound has, then oftentimes what happens if you move the Modwheel is that it will actually overtake that movement, and then you can just write in the own movement that you want to have for the sound. Just make sure that when you're making your automation that you don't go all the way to 0, so that when it actually moves, it doesn't temporarily overtake that modulation. So if we're here, what we want to do is probably have it like 0.01, and then maybe say instead of having it just going up and down over 4 bars, we'll just have it slowly move up over here. And as you can hear now, we have this nice rising effect to our synth, and the other modulation is no longer playing. So really, this whole preset pack is just designed to get your ideas out there as quickly as possible. Of course, the stuff that we've made today isn't really mixed yet, but I've been recording now for 26 minutes. So as you can imagine, it didn't really take me that long. And also I've been explaining throughout it, and I've been, making multiple takes of certain sentences and all of that stuff. So really, in reality, it took me maybe like 7-8 minutes to actually write this idea in here. And honestly, there's very few times that I get a 32-bar idea fully fledged with drums and main synths and support synths and some of the Oneshots as well as effects in that kind of time. So as you can imagine, it's just really, really fast working this way. And that is honestly what I would consider not just the benefit of this particular preset pack, but any kind of preset pack that you'll stumble upon. It's just faster to write this way. Now I was debating if I wanted to make another segment where I go through all of the presets and I just play them for a little bit so that then you can actually see what all of the sounds are in there. But honestly, what I think is much more interesting is that you explore it for yourself and find out all of the sound possibilities, mainly because when it comes to the preset, with the default preset, it's not really the sound that you're getting, it is mainly the idea that you're getting, and then with the macros you can actually fine-tune that sound. So to show you all of the combinations of all of the different macros and then for all of the different presets just would take up way too much time. This video would be maybe like 2 hours long if I were to do that. And of course also the different octaves that you're playing and potentially even the different processing that you do on it afterwards if you do plan on adding effects. As you can see, up until this point, we haven't really done that, but that is where you would get into mixing, that is where you would get into all of the detail stuff. And of course, that is where you mainly are going to spend a lot of your time when it comes to production, but just getting an idea out there and getting that inspiration is so important for you to actually have a project that is interesting enough to actually work in, that something like a preset pack like this is just going to be really helpful in getting those ideas out there. So that's going to be it for today's video. Make sure that you check out the preset pack. Again, there is a sale on right now. So if you're interested in any of my products, go check out my Gumroad page. I also quickly want to say that this sale includes my masterclass, which is also excellent. It is 24 hours of edited footage, where I actually show you a whole production start to finish, including the mixing and the mastering and all of the nitty-gritty details that you guys like. So if you're interested in any of that, again, go check it out. It really supports the channel if you do that. And it really allows me to make these videos for you guys full time. But that's going to be it for the video. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you want to see more, there are going to be 2 videos up on the screen right now for you to choose from. One is the latest tutorial and the other one will be recommended to you by YouTube. So just pick one and enjoy, and hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye.